First bit here. Welcome back to Eurosport, here live in the night from the Le Mans 24 Hours. Mark Cole, Jeremy Shaw, taking you up into the small hours now. A little night music perhaps, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think we're getting our own music here with V12s, V10s, you name it. Great, that's the kind of music I like this time of night. Great fun. It's been a fantastic motor race, hasn't it? We've just seen a few little problems there. Christian Klien had that problem, so he's fallen back a couple of laps now behind the race-leading car of number 7, driven at the moment by Marc Gené. So it's Peugeot, Audi, and Peugeot. Stefan Sarrazin he's done a magnificent job to get that car back up into the top 6 overall, ahead now of all the petrol engine cars. And it's a magnificent charge back, but he's still 5 laps down, isn't he, Mark, to the overall leader?
Yeah, that's quite a tall order, but anything can happen. As we say, we're only at this moment some 8 hours into the race, and so much has happened so far. And well, Peugeot, Audi, it's so finely balanced, and it's been this way before, Jeremy, in the past. Last year, of course, when had their last head-to-head, dreadful weather all through the night, and that hampered things. Jacques Villeneuve, of course, rose to the occasion, did a fantastic job, and earned himself a great deal of new respect from the sports car fraternity.
Well, interesting you should say that, because I was just chatting to a couple of people down in the paddock, and they say that there may be some rain in the area within the next hour, so that would be interesting. But we've had perfect weather, really, haven't we, all afternoon and evening. It's just been absolutely glorious. No caution periods whatsoever, nothing to slow the race down whatsoever. They're running a very fast pace indeed, and there's still all sorts of battles going on all the way down the field. LMP2 is still just a lap or thereabouts between those two Porsche RS Spyders. Jos Verstappen has done the lion's share of the duty in the Van Merkstein Motorsports car, but John Nielsen, driving the Team Essex Porsche, is knocking on the door. They had that puncture for Casper Elgaard a couple of hours or so ago now, I guess, but still running strongly in second place. And then that Lola Coupe, Steve Zakia once again at the wheel, running in third place in LMP2. That's an excellent effort, I reckon, for those guys.
Yeah, you just mentioned about the weather. We have had a bulletin.
There's Alan McNish. I just saw him about 5 minutes ago, and he was getting ready to get back into the number 2 car, isn't he? The second place car, Tom Christensen at the wheel. And I asked him about the fact that they're quadruple stinting. They have done from the start. Alan drove the first 4 stints in the car, and then he handed over to Dindo Capello, did 4 stints. Christensen just finishing off a 4 stinter now, and I said, that's pretty manly stuff there, Alan. And he said, well, that's what we've got to do. We've got to show the Peugeots we've got the balls. We've got to push them to the limit. That's what we've got to do. They've had some problems, have the Peugeots, and if they can keep the pressure on them, then maybe they can come away with that with one more victory for the R10 TDI.
Yeah, well, this shows drivers who are totally comfortable with the cars they've got, very relaxed. They trust those cars, and if they find they've got the stamina, the strength to do that, they will have. There's a bit of a moment there for who's that coming off? Oh, it's just suddenly last moment decide to go into the pit lane. One of the Peugeots, can't quite see which one it is. As they come in, we'll just have a look. See, might have been onto. Big moment. I think he's intending not to come into the pit, suddenly changed his mind. He's all over the road. Love to have seen that from outside, but
it is the race leader.
It is. It's Marc Gené. Nearly missed it. You mentioned about the weather, by the way. Just had a bulletin from the ACO. They're saying now latest forecast suggests it won't be rain tonight, but possibly tomorrow. Yeah. You mentioned the speed of the race so far. I think the big story so far this evening has been that they've just Peugeot, the number 7 car, has just a couple of hours ago broke the all-time distance record, which has been held since 1971 by the Porsche 917 of Guys van Lennep. They've managed to run 50 laps in 3 hours, so that's one for the record books. Also, the fastest lap of the race so far, that's gone into the record books for Sarrazin, and
being broken everywhere, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? That was, I think, just a routine stop for Marc Gené. He left it very, very late to come down the pit lane, but he's been turning some good laps, and he's got a healthy lead now in that car number 7, and I reckon that stop was just about right on schedule. In fact, it did 12 laps on that stint, I reckon. I thought they came in last time on 1:26. They've generally been doing 11 laps per stint, so they're keeping up the pressure.
Yeah, there it is again. Just only actually was on the gravel there, wasn't he? Looking for the pit lane. Wonder if that was an error. And he thought, well, if I'm in the pit lane, I might as well come in. But the team were ready, so anyway.
I reckon that maybe somehow he missed the call to come in earlier on that lap, and just at the last minute he realised where he was on the track.
Audi getting ready now. Interesting. I mean, so far the story of the race, as far as the pit stops are concerned, is they've been 11 laps for the Peugeots, 12 for the Audis. And Audi's been bragging about this. So just looking at their latest release, saying, "Oh, this just shows how wonderful our new fuel is and how efficient the Audi TDI is." But Peugeot is saying, "Well, you know, we're cool about it, and thank you, Audi, but we're actually in front of you at the moment."
Yes, they are indeed, are they not? And it has been a great battle. I mean, to be this far into the race and still have several cars in contention just takes one small hiccup, as we saw for Christian Klein. He was leading a race and now down into third place. Just the slightest hiccup is easily going to cost you several positions.
Yeah,
it's the same in the other classes as well, isn't it?
It was an unforced error by Klein. We all saw that happen, and he just put the car backwards into the gravel. It was the rear wheels in, the front one was still on the tarmac, and he was stuck there until they could push him out. Lost a lap. As you said, GT1, Antonio Garcia, he's at the head of the table at the moment for Aston Martin, from Johnny O'Connell, from Andrea Pacini and Ollie Beretta, and there is just there's one lap covering them. Ollie Beretta's just off the lead lap at the moment, but Jaime Mello in the Ferrari, the Rizzi Ferrari, he's still out front from Wolf Hensler. But down there, I mean, Porsche have self-destructed today, haven't they?
It's just that Wolf Hensler car, the Felbermar car of Wolf Hensler at the wheel at the moment. They're the only ones that have stayed in contention with the Ferraris. As you say, everybody else has thrown it into something or somebody or whatever. And I gather, I haven't seen Patrick Long myself, but I gather the incident between himself and Seth Neiman, Seth apparently got together with one of the Ferraris right in front of Patrick Long, and Patrick just had nowhere to go. So it wasn't just a straight incident between those two Porsches. There was another car.
Yeah, it was a chain reaction of sorts, and unfortunately it took out the two lead Porsches at that time.
But there goes the GT2 leading Risi Competizione Ferrari. Jaime Mello has been driving that car, and I believe is still at the wheel. No, it was handed over to Mika Salo. Yeah, I thought it was about time for a change of driver there. So
now Mika's greatest strength is that he is the driver who will go bang straight out the pits and be straight on the pace. He never seems to need to warm up, Mika. Everyone else does. They need a lap, an installation lap to get themselves in the field. Mika never does that. He goes straight for it.
He does, but Jaime Mello's often a little bit quicker, isn't he, than Mika in overall pace, and certainly he's the one who seems to do the lion's share of the qualifying of the cars these days. But it's a great pairing, those two, and they've had absolutely no luck at all in the American Le Mans Series this year. Everything possible that could go wrong has gone wrong, but maybe they can turn their season around here at Le Mans.
I think we said the other night in qualifying, if it wasn't for bad luck, they'd have no luck at all.
You're absolutely right.
4 official retirements so far tonight. First retirement was Nick Johnson in the green Krone Rizzi Ferrari. He went off quite a big way, and I saw that car coming back.
Yeah, it was Tracy who went off, I gather. On his first lap out.
Oops. Right, it wasn't Nick, then we take that back. So I guess Nick's name was still up on the screen when he went off. Trading Performance, Karen OJ put the Zytek off in quite a big way, and then again that we just mentioned about the Matmut Imsa Porsche, Raymond Norak and co, that was heavily crashed. Peter Dumbreck, hero of Scotland, he's out with the blown engine in the spiker, and that's another one. They blew engines at the test day. They had problems the other night. This is the new Audi 4-litre V8 they're using in the car. It just really has not worked.
It hasn't yet, has it? I mean, Audi generally gets it right in the end. It's not an official Audi project, certainly, but they've known for the reliability in their prototype cars, but not yet got that spiker the full reliability that it needs to show the potential that perhaps there might be in that Dutch chassis.
It's a bit ironic that I saw Peter yesterday morning, and he said we'll be fine as long as the engine holds together.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid they're out at 6:34 this evening.
And here's another guy. The team has had all sorts of problems this evening. The RML car there of Thomas Erdos and Mike Newton and Andy Wallace, and God, dear, they've had a litany of problems, but they're not giving up.
No, but Tommy, in fact, was the innocent victim of a collision. I'm just checking which car it was, but he was put off the track quite early on, and we saw the car was absolutely rooted at the front. And unfortunately, on Wednesday night, Andy Wallace had a similar problem. He backed it off at the second chicane. As soon as he hit the brakes, the car swapped ends. He went in backwards, so that was a big hurt. I'm just checking through here as we're talking, but looking down to where Tommy went off. It was with the Keyfall ASM team, the two of them touched. Also, Corvette was involved in that. So this is, again, it's the big problem about differentials, traffic, and this is something all the drivers have been complaining about.
Well, it is, but there's not much speed differential, is there, ultimately between the LMP2 cars and the GT1s. In fact, on the straights, the GT1 cars are probably a little bit quicker than most of the LMP2 cars, with the possible exception of the Porsche RS Spiders, which certainly have the legs of everything else on the long straights here at Le Mans. But talking as you were there about the Corvettes, and a little while ago, there's still just one lap separation the top 4 cars in the class. It's a 64 car. Olivier Beretta at the wheel is in 4th place right now, and remember they had a longish stop an hour or so ago, and I was just down in the Corvette pit. I don't know whether the other guys reported on it, but it was an alternator problem they had on that 64 car. They had the rear deck off it, and we wondered why that was, and they didn't change the alternator, and that car is now back up to speed with Oliver Beretta at the wheel.
Yeah, the trouble is you go down a lap, don't you? It's so difficult to get it back. Same problem for Charouz, Lola Aston Martin. Stefan Mucker spun at Dunlop. He went backwards into the wall, did a lot of damage front and rear of the car. They got it back, and Thomas Enger later came out and he said the car is almost drivable. I mean, that's wonderful. He's charging around the circuit at 210 miles an hour, saying it's almost drivable. I love that.
Almost drivable. And they got that car back up now inside the top 20 actually overall. So they're going to shortly break onto the first page of the scoring system here, which would be a bit of a triumph in itself, I think. The Klaus Graf, Greg Pickett and Jan Lammers car, the Lola AER Turbo, that's also up into 18th place. That's had a few problems as well, but running pretty strongly now.
Yeah, there's another car that's been having problems tonight too, is the Chamberlain Synergy Lola, just as Jeremy, you spot coming in.
Yeah, well, yeah, Ricardo Zonta is in the pits in the 3rd place car. Is that on schedule? That's probably about right now, isn't it? Because it got off schedule with Christian Kliens off.
They've also got Jean-Christophe Bouillon in one of the Pescarolas at the same time, so they're just choosing their moments to come in together, those. Pescarola right down at the far end, he's gone back out. Yes, just going back to Chamberlain Synergy, Bob Berridge had a puncture early on in that Lola BO610, then sadly his wife Amanda, she had a spin up at Dunlop, and she hit the wall quite hard. The car broke the front suspension. She had to do a whole lap of the circuit. It took her 1 hour and 2 minutes. Got it back, but that car is repaired now, but again, that's one that's gone way down. So no change in the orders there, but Jos Verstappen, first time at Le Mans. It's almost unbelievable. So, and he's also told us yesterday he has never raced at night before.
He's never raced, has he really? I was just chatting with his manager down there, Huub Rottengetter, who's, of course, he was a no mean driver in his own right, was he, back in the 70s?
In comes the number 3 car. This is Rocky handing over to, I guess he'll be handing over to Pramac. I saw Lucas Lew in the car not long ago. That car, number 3 car, coming in 4th place. So it's very nicely laid out at the moment. Peugeot, Audi, Peugeot, Audi, Audi. But Peugeot crept back up to 6th place. Sarrazan's done a series of very fast laps. Been running consistent 322s, and that's brought that car back up after those hydraulic gearbox selector problems they had. It's an Achilles heel, always the transmission on the Peugeots. We've seen it time and time again. It always seems to be one car has the trouble, even in the Le Mans Series races, while the other one wins. Just seems to be the pattern of things.
Yeah, yes, really, and you're right. They have had some 1-2 finishes, but they've been few and far between. So as you say, always one or the other that seems to have a fairly flawless run, and the other guy has all sorts of myriad niggly little problems generally, only, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not car-stopping problems, but they do cost them time and laps, and time is something you haven't got here at Le Mans, because these pit stops are so critical. He who spends the least time in the pits is going to win the race.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Stefan Sarrazin still keeping up that torrid pace, a 3 minutes 23.9 in the dark. That's a good effort. He's up into 6th place now. He's still, those 3 laps behind those 2 Audis that are next in his sight. Lucas Luhr in 3rd place, in 4th place, I should say, in car number 3, having a great battle with Frankie Biela. Car numbers 3 and 1 have been back and forth, hasn't they, for the last several hours now? But they are they're a lap down to the leaders only, but just not quite on that Peugeot pace.
Yeah, I think that you get into a sort of rhythm when you're racing someone else for such a long period. You get into this rhythm where you're both following each other, copying each other. Unless you can actually have a chance to pass, you just stay there. The Lamborghini then getting moved back out of pit lane. That car had also gearbox problems early on in the race, and we're looking forward to seeing that go back. Here's Krone Racing. Oh, what's happening here? There's a 90 stuck on the side. They brought it back out. I don't believe it.
No, I think they've actually it's just the Krone door actually on the 90 car. That's what
the 90
it is.
car.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. For a minute, I just thought they've got the Krone car appeared with a new front and rear.
Tracy Croney backed it into the wall,
Yeah,
I think, over at Arnage, was it? And then it spun around and got the front end as well. So the door is probably about the only thing that wasn't bent.
Yeah, so they've loaned that to the 90 car, as you say. That's Lars-Erik Nielsen taking that car out of the pit. Well, he brought it in. Is he taking it out as well? Yes, he is. That car is in 5th place. So interchange between some of the Ferrari parts there. I guess Michelotto say, please lend the door to him or what, and do that.
I didn't see who that was came in the pits. So nice view of the bodywork, but which car is it? I think it's yet more problems there certainly. And it's been an interesting race. We seem to have gone long periods with no mechanical problems whatsoever, and just all sorts of battles going on. Good shot of Alex Wurz getting ready to take another stint in his Peugeot. But it's certainly Peugeot's out in front at the moment. Marc Gené at the wheel of car number 7. Audi's Tom Christensen is only 53.5 seconds back, so less than a minute back. But the car number 2 is ready for a pit stop, and it will be Alan McNish who will take over the wheel of that car.
Now, we were just looking at the 25 RML Lola, the Lola MG in the garage, and we're hearing that they've been having some flying moments, Jeremy. This is a bit serious. Apparently twice during the race, the car has taken off, and that car is now sitting in the garage while they investigate the underfloor, see what might be causing that.
Yeah, that's not something you want right here at Le Mans, is it? The speeds are so high. If you get the car in the air and the air gets underneath it, then we've seen what can happen. We've seen a whole bunch of cars taking huge somersaulting accidents. Not good at all.
And we're going to take a break. Stay with us on Eurosport. Jeremy Shaw, Mark Coe will be back in a minute. We're back with Eurosport. It's 11:24 at night here in Le Mans in France. Of course, 10:24 for you at home. So pubs are closing soon. Hope a lot more of you are going to be joining us. 28 million is what we understand our audience is going to be during the course of this race, with British Eurosport, Eurosport E2 and International Eurosport. And Jeremy Shaw, Mark Coe here, bringing you all the action as it happens. Jeremy, Audi number 1 car pit getting ready for a stop.
Yes, indeed. It's been again a quadruple stint, I think, for Frank Biela, and it will be Emmanuel Pirot who will take over the wheel of that car. So that wasn't it coming down the pit lane, was it?
It's one of the coupes coming
exactly. That's the number 33 car, the 3rd place in LMP2, and right behind it on the pit lane is the Audi.
So let's see how his stop goes. As always, fuel in first, driver change. You can't touch the car, otherwise those wheel guns must not go near the wheel nuts until the refueling's finished. You've heard this, you've seen this so many times before, we don't need to tell you that. Of course, our dear friend David Leslie, he always loved to describe these in miniature details, and by golly, we miss him. And here's the great race for Audi, though. Everyone, I think, would love Audi just to take this race down to the closing moments with Peugeot. There's no partisan feelings in the cabin here, but what we want is it to go all the way to the checkered flag. We don't care who wins, do we?
No, absolutely right. No, as long as we have a great race, and we certainly had that in the first half of it, and we get the same sort of action as the night progresses into tomorrow as well. That would be just great.
No tyres? They decided not to, or did they? No, they haven't changed them, have they? They're still trying to triple stint these Michelins. I noticed Courage, Hugh de Schonack told us we're getting 3 runs out of our tyres.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different tyre compounds they can use, aren't there, from Michelin for the various different teams and different conditions as well. It's certainly a good bit cooler now than it was earlier in the evening.
So Manuel Pirot takes the car out, having taken it over from Frank Bieler, and this car, the car that has won the last 2 years at the moment, 4th place, that's fine, absolutely perfect before half place in the race.
Yeah,
So
exactly. As you say, Mark, there's still a heck of a long way to go, and you just got to keep yourself in contention. That's the way you win these sort of races, is not do anything silly. If you can keep there or thereabouts, then it comes down to the last few hours, and there surely it's going to be some niggly little problems, or maybe somebody gets in the way. Traffic is, we talked about it all race long, traffic is a problem. And particularly, when the conditions are, it's dark out there. They're doing some pretty horrendous speeds on the straights here, and it's very easy to make a mistake, particularly if you heard a report that maybe there won't be any rain overnight, or maybe not until later in the morning tomorrow. But still, you never know, and there has been some talk that there might be the odd shower around during the night.
They're waiting to bring in number 2 car, Tom Christensen. I guess he'll stay on board, won't he?
No, that'll be
this will be his 4th shift, will
yes, it will, yes.
Right, so it'll be Dindo Capello's turn then.
Alan McNish will get in the car.
He'll get in, will he?
Yeah.
He's done 4 already?
Yeah, he did 4 to start with, and Dindo did 4, and Christensen done 4, so only now, I think they are the last of the teams for the starting driver to get back in again for his second.
But pretty impressive, isn't it? As we said earlier, it just shows how comfortable these Audi drivers are with their cars now.
No question about it.
Of course, a lot easier for them to drive at this time of night in the air, the cool air. It helps the drivers. The Peugeot coupes, they are coupes, so the driver's inside an enclosed atmosphere. They've got to run with air conditioning, remember, or with ventilation, and they have to have the temperature at least 12 degrees Celsius above the ambient temperature. That's the rules. Any problem with that, the ACO check it, and you're in trouble.
Talking a bit of trouble, that's a shame. That car's been running. Well, it was running in 16th place actually. The number 20 Epson Escudero car.
That's the one that was officially accepted for the race. The 21 car, of course, getting in at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night after the lovely Lucchini was withdrawn. Wasn't withdrawn so much as thrown out for fuel tank irregularities. But they've all had problems, and that 20 car blew its Judd engine this morning. That's a very, very rare V10 failure, but they were very tight-lipped about it. No one would tell us any more than engine problems, so they had to change it.
So here is the number 2 car. Quick change there for Alan McNish. Resumes, having taken it over from Tom Christensen.
This is what he loves. Alan just adores driving at night. He said it's difficult. The main problem, he tells us, is that you have tunnel vision at night. You don't have this wide peripheral vision out of the side of your eyes that you have in daytime, so you can really only see what's in the headlights. He said that makes life difficult, but he's adapted to it. He loves it, and he just loves the coolness. He said almost the peace of driving in the dark.
Yeah, he was looking so relaxed. I just saw him just a few minutes ago down in the pit lane. I was actually chatting with Marco Werner, and Alan came over and was sort of joking like he does. He's super relaxed. He couldn't wait to get back in the car again. But he did say it is hard work out there. I mean, there's a lot of G-forces here, and there's intense concentration required, and that's, I think, it's more of a mental potential problem than a physical problem.
Jeremy, this is Mika Salo back, and he must have had a puncture. He's come back in only 4 or 5 laps after taking over from Jamie Mello.
Certainly was an unscheduled stop. We don't know what it was, but I think
I can only imagine he's picked up a puncture somewhere. There's no other reason.
To Wolf Hensler too. He's had a long stop, hasn't he? He's been in the pits now for 4 or 5 laps. That one has escaped us.
Yes, we haven't picked that up. It's a bit further down for us. And
where is the number 77 car? But we had been running in second place, and it was the only one of the Porsches to be keeping any sort of pressure.
Well, we've got 5 Ferraris now.
That's exactly
GT2.
Right.
This is looking better and better for the Scuderia.
Wow, that's a big turnaround in Porsche. It's just been a nightmare of a race.
Well, except for, of course, LMP2, where they are still 1 and 2. Jos Verstappen from John Nielsen. What we didn't know earlier on was that John Nielsen's team had to change an engine in that Porsche between the warm-up and the race today.
I didn't know that. I must say, wow.
And that wasn't scheduled.
Yes. No, it wasn't. And that car's been running, like clockwork. looking like clockwork. There's a fastest lap for car number 5. It's Loic Duval at the wheel of the 7th place car, the quickest, or the best place, I should say, of the petrol engine cars. The Orica Judd engine car is running absolutely beautifully, and Loic Duval, wow, he's got a lot of experience, hasn't he, in all sorts of different cars, mainly in Japan the last few years.
And in Japan, fantastic Formula Nippon, and particularly Super GT driver. Had a lot of wins there for Nissan. And but Jeremy, just going back to the Porsche thing at the moment, we're talking about having to change an engine in Porsche Spider. You've been covering the ALMS. I can't recall Penske having had an engine failure yet, not in racing.
No, I can't either. I mean, they generally finish, two of them on the podium in the LMP2 class. I mean, they're absolutely dominant there, even though the Acuras are giving them a good challenge now. It's certainly become a battle, much more of a battle than it was last year, but you're absolutely right. Engine failures very few and far between. There's a great onboard shot there of the Peugeot giving the flash of lights to let the slower car know that he's coming past.
Yeah, one of the Ferraris, one of the many Ferraris now dominating GT2. We've got 6 Ferraris in the top 7 places. Unheard of.
Really is. And the Wolf-Fenster car is still in the pits, in the garage. Has been pulled. I think it's been pulled back into the garage. I can't see it on pit lane. So it's obviously been a major problem for that car. And I think therefore the only other Porsche still running now is a Flying Lizard car, even though it's many laps behind. It's 37 laps behind. 8th place overall in class, and no hope of winning GT2, I would say, from there.
Yeah, that's amazing. That car's still in the race, of course, after went behind the barriers. Pat Long very sensibly stayed on board it. You mustn't go more than 10 metres away from the car. Quite unlike American racing, you cannot be taken back to the paddock behind the wall and got back into the race. That's the big difference. At least in America, the show goes on.
Well, I've been living in the States for 20 odd years now, and I love the attitude over there. It's what can we do to keep the cars in the race? And that's why fans go to watch motor racing. It's to see the cars in action, not to be pulled out of the race for some silly little procedural error. I mean, for goodness sake, it's all about getting the cars on the track and putting on a show, and that's what they do wonderfully well in the States. And there's some griping amongst some of the teams that they're massaging some of the Le Mans rules, and that's not the way it's supposed to be played. But they do it for the fans. That's the reason they make the changes they do, and it works.
No tire change for the Aston. Yeah, they've decided to double or even treble stint on that 007 car. Very iconic number, this, by the way. We talked about this earlier, but I bumped into the Scuderia Hermanos Rodriguez this morning, group of Mexicans who come here every year, and this year they're celebrating the 40th anniversary of Pedro Rodriguez's win in the 917. That was the first ever Gulf liveried car win, and that car was number 7. This car's 007. There's a reason for that.
Yes, there is, and wouldn't it be great to see them pull off a win in the GT1 division again? But it's the 63 car, the Corvette, is out in front right now. They're off strategy slightly in terms of their pit stops, and I think the number 63 Corvette of Johnny O'Connell out the wheel is due for a pit stop fairly shortly. But they've now got the top 3 cars in that class on the lead lap. Darren Turner shown less than a half a minute behind O'Connell, second place in the 009 car, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen driving the 007 now.
So just a reminder to everyone, we are up and running again on the Eurosport Yahoo message board. Go to eurosport.yahoo.com, go to message board, go to motor racing, and on the Le Mans we've now got the thread up, the All Night Club, which Carlton started before we took over. And for instance, here we got Freddy429 says, of course we're up all night. This is Shangri-La compared to all this footy nuttiness around. Is there a vaccine against football? He says, please let it exist. Question for you, Jeremy. The multiple lights that are mounted on the sides of the car close to the number plates, are they indicating which driver is in that car?
No, they're actually indicating what position they are in that class, and that was another system that was actually, I think, brought in by the American Le Mans series, wasn't it? If there's one light on the side, it's first in the class. A different coloured lights on the side of the cars. If there's one light, it's first in class. If there's 2 lights, it's second in class, and 3 lights, it's third in class. I say they're differentiated also by the coloured lights, even though it's not very difficult to tell the difference between the LMP cars and the GT cars.
Yeah, and sorry if you've heard the answer to that before, but we do appreciate, and a lot of you are coming online now later on, and some of these questions are answered earlier. So those of you who've heard the answers before, bear with us. It's going to happen all night because we're changing teams, rotating commentary teams, and we're all coming in all fresh, and you may be getting a bit stale out there. Greg D, hooray, the Virgo car's in third. Let's hope they can build on that through the night. Well, Greg, good news for you is they're now second. Tim Sugden's at the wheel, and they're running second to Mika Salo because of that Hensler car sliding down the order.
Yeah, and they're only one lap off the pace of the Salo car, aren't they? So they're running good pace. They've not quite had, it seemed early on at least, they didn't quite have the legs of the Risi Competizione car, but the fastest lap in the class was, set by Wolf Hensler actually in GT2 in the Proton car, but that seems now to be out of the running altogether. It's still in the pit lane, and we haven't seen that for now for probably about 25 minutes. But the Tim Sugden car has got a faster lap time, has it not, Mark, than the class-leading Mika Salo car?
Yeah, Salo, of course, had that, we think, probably a puncher who's in and out of the pit, so his last lap was a 5:15. But certainly the best lap of that Ferrari so far in the race has been 0.5 second quicker than the Risi Competizione car. So
running Dunlop tyres, isn't it, the Virgo machine,
yep.
and against the Michelins of the Risi car, and most of the rest of the cars in the field are on Michelin.
And ironically, of course, Jimmy Bruni was taken away from Virgo by Michelotto, by Ferrari, and given to the Risi team for this race. So.
Yeah, there's some people not very happy about that move, aren't there?
Well, unfortunately, Jimmy Bruni is a Ferrari factory driver.
Yep.
He's got the ALMS, he's got Le Mans, he's got the LMS, and he's got the FIA GT. He's committed to all three. He has to do what his bosses tell him.
That's exactly right. Whoever's paying the checks, he will drive for. There's the Saulnier Racing Pescarolo on pit lane. That's the fourth place car in LMP2.
Yeah, it's been a good effort by this team here, the Saulnier team. The name, of course, is that of the race director of Pescarolo. Saulnier had to sell that when he moved over to run the Peugeots. François Sicard is now managing the team. It's owned by Jacques Nicolet, who's a Monaco television entrepreneur. In fact, he is also a racer in the V2V series, historic, etc. Richard Hine likewise, Mark Fagianato likewise. So very good team of weekend amateur racers, but of course, half owning Pescarolo, they're entitled to use one of the products.
Yeah, when I was doing my homework here to get ready for this race, must admit there were three guys I'd never heard of, and I try to pay attention to what's going on in racing all the way around the world, and I was having a hard time finding anything about those guys. So thanks for filling me in, Mark.
Well, the clue might be that Jacques is 62, Richard 51, and Mark 59. So not in the prime of their youth. But anyway, up they go again, and Marc Gené still leading from Alan McNish, from Ricardo Zonta, Lucas Lure, he's on board the number 3 car, and Manuel Pilot 5th in the number 1. Jos Verstappen leading John Nielsen, but that's been close ever since the start of the race. They are 3 minutes apart at the moment, so John is coming close to being bumped off the lead lap. But interestingly, Jeremy, I'm just looking up at GT1 at the moment. Johnny O'Connell leading the 2 Aston Martins, and then Beretta in 4th, but the Astons have both had 10 stops, the Corvette's only 9, so we're still waiting for the Corvettes to come in.
Yeah, we are, and it's I think Johnny's done an excellent job at the wheel of that car. They're still turning all very similar lap times. Last time around, Johnny O'Connell turned a 3 minutes 53.8. Darren Turner in the Aston Martin in second place. He's 27 seconds behind, and he was about just a few tenths of a second quicker, so it's very, very close.
Back on Eurosport at Le Mans, we have now just reached 11:41 at night. Marc Gené in the number 7 Peugeot is leading the race. Just before we went off, we said the Corvettes are due in, and Jeremy, here they are.
Yeah, number 64 car, Olivier Beretta, is on pit lane. We're expecting the 63 car, which is leading the class, shortly as well. Olivier Beretta, they lost a lap a couple of hours ago with an alternator change. Since then, it's been running like clockwork. Talking of running like clockwork, that's exactly what Tom Kristen said of his number 2 Audi R10 TDI when he got out of that car and handed over to Alan McNish about 10 minutes or so ago. So the car's absolutely gorgeous, but he also said, Tom Christensen, there's a lot of gravel on the racetrack as well, so you've really got to keep on your racing line. If you stray off the racing line, it's very easy to get into trouble.
64 stops going wrong. The car just came off its air jacks, and they've had to jack it up again, and they're trying to get him out now, but that has cost them a lot of time
in terms of time he spent in the pits. Oh, and that is close as he goes out. Oh, how close was that? Nearly took out the sole surviving fast Porsche.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Here we go again. They get the wheel off and the jack goes down. Watch this. Whoops.
Ouch.
It's the way they're standing there saying, can we put it up again, please?
Yeah, that's...
Very politely.
That is not good news.
Well, that was not a Corvette moment,
No,
was
it was not. Very, very unlike those guys. I mean, they are as well drilled as anybody in terms of their pit stops, and that is a very, very rare mistake by those guys. And it'll cost them, luckily, only a few seconds, I think. Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, but it just shows it's not all as smooth as they'd always like. And there's the 80 car, but Lizard's car that almost took it out coming in. That car seems to be back in good running order.
Yeah, I think so. He's been running some fairly good lap times as well. I think it was Johannes van Overbeek at the wheel of the car coming into the pits, and he's just handed over to Jörg Bergmeister. So there's the vastly experienced German. He's won a couple of American Le Mans Series GT2 championships over the last 3 years, and is leading the class this year as well after the first 4 races of the season.
All they can hope for now, Jeremy, is that those Ferraris ahead of them self-destruct, because there's no way they're going to haul in Salo if they have no problems. 125 laps against the 88 that Jörg Bergmeister is just now starting.
Yeah, they've been in. They've lost about 3 hours of running, I think, haven't they? That number 80 car, the Flying Lizard car. There's the Dome chassis, though. That's run, very, very nice. It's still in the top 10. They've had a couple of little niggles, I think, but still running very, very well. And boy, considering the lack of track time that car has had since it was introduced, it's a remarkable effort.
Yeah, they took it to Sugo 3 weeks ago to do a run. It was totally aborted. I mean, everything went wrong. They brought it to Le Mans the test weekend, astonished everyone by running almost trouble-free. But as you say, any new car, you usually have months and months of shakedown testing, getting stuff right. They've had to do this all during race week, and here they are. We've got to 9 hours almost at night into the race, and they're still going like a train.
Yeah, and particularly when you're preparing for a 24-hour race, the last thing you want is a disastrous one shakedown.
So the Saunier car back in again. The Cops got a problem?
No, it was a 35 car. It was a P2 car that was in a little while ago.
We saw. This is the Nicolet car.
Yeah, exactly.
He is the co-owner of Pescarolo now, and this is the car that Henri's given them to say thank you. And this car, of course, wasn't due to be racing at Le Mans. It was the withdrawal of the Tafel Ferrari, the American Tafel Ferrari, which got this car in as first reserve. And Jim Tafel, I think, citing economic downturn in American financial markets. Tony Dow was very vocal about that.
Yeah, but Tony also, he knows that the team want to concentrate. They want to win the championship. Their primary goal really wasn't this year, at least, to come to Le Mans. It was to win the championship in GT2 in the American Le Mans Series. And Tony generally gets his way, and he thought that coming to Le Mans was just been a big distraction, which in this phase for that team, it's really only their second year. Last year they ran Porsches, this year they're running Ferraris, so they've had a heck of a lot of work over the last 18 months or so. They've spent an awful lot of money. I don't think money really is the problem there, to be perfectly honest, but the focus was on the American Le Mans Series, and so that's what they're going to do for this year. But I certainly would bet a small amount that Jim Tafel will be here within a year or two.
Yeah, well, of course, they have to give a valid reason for the withdrawal, otherwise you become persona non grata with the ACO. So, we have financial problems in America, we can't make it, so the ACO have to put their hands up and perhaps just accept that. Hopefully it won't spoil any future relations between the team, because I've seen the team racing in America. It's a great team, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and they've been absolutely superb this season with... they've already won a couple of races this season, so they've been very, very strong.
One of the Alphane Corvettes in at the moment. This is, in fact, where are we? It's Blancheman's car. Yeah, he's in at the moment. And Pascali was on board that car, wasn't he? Is he handing over? Tire changes. Anyway, they're going for the new rubber. They've refueled. I assume that Pascali stayed on board. We didn't notice a driver change. That's Laurent Pascali.
And Luca von Aventure's team is getting ready for its other car to come on pit lane as well. It's right in front of our commentary booth. As also the Greg Pickett car the Muscle Milk car is on pit lane as well. Here comes the number 72 car. Also there is number 5 as well.
Guillaume Moreau on board the Corvette. In fact, the driver change coming there. Guillaume Moreau getting out. He's the man who distinguished himself last year at the age of 23. His first prototype drive, wrote off one of the factory Courages and put himself in hospital at the test weekend. Now, what do we got here? Alex Wurz, and we can hardly see through the screen. Someone sprayed oil over him. They have, haven't they?
They certainly have, and that's an amazing onboard footage. I mean, the speeds he's going at here, you cannot possibly drive. Yeah, and as you say that, he peels off into pit lane. We've got to try and find out where that oil came from, because it's
got no choice, has he? I thought for a minute
that must be very frightening.
Yeah.
Given the amount of oil that was on the windscreen, I mean, he couldn't have been doing it, a lap after lap. It must have happened just within the last lap or so.
And from whom did it come? That's the view of the pit lane. There should be people.
2 Peugeots now in the pit lane.
Wow.
What if it came from the other one?
They're following each other.
So we got the race leading car of Marc Gené and also Alex Wurz on pit lane. So 2 Peugeots in at the same time. So clearly some problems down there. So number 8 car, they're just cleaning the windscreen, but number 7, I don't know.
There's something gone a little miss here. They're not normally bring the cars in together. Well, they cleaned Alex's car, sending him out again. They've put a little bit of fuel, and that's all they've done. So that's why he had to come in. Who has dumped all the oil in front of him? And look, Gené's got the same on the front of his car. So somebody out there has dumped a load of oil, and it wasn't one of the Peugeots. Number 11, we're getting slow car number 11 shown on the track, and that number 11 car is the Dome. It's the Dome. Has it launched its Judd engine? We don't know. Let's wait and see. But if the 2 Peugeots have had oil on the screen, Jeremy, for sure other cars are going to be having problems.
Yeah, absolutely right. And look at the difference there from the onboard. That is on board with Alex Wurz's car. He's just only done a half a stint, really, hasn't he, since he took over the wheel? He's done 11 laps, so it's around about on schedule.
More cars are coming in. John Nielsen's having his helmet cleaned, his visor, so has been a problem. He's getting out now. He couldn't even see, I think, to get out of the car. And look, everyone's getting their windscreens cleaned. I think we're going to have an oil slick on the track, Jeremy, and that could even give us a safety car, the first one of the race.
Wow, yeah, indeed. I mean, there's got to be something's got
there is the Dome.
Major difficulties out there. Is the Dome in the pit lane?
Dome's made it. Yeah, oil everywhere. Look at that. The whole back of the car on the left-hand side is covered in oil.
Huge.
Yeah, straight in the garage. Oh dear, what a shame. Here it is. You can see it for yourself now. What a great shame. The distinctive green headlights following the rest of the car into the garage. And we heard the Judd engine was lost in one of the Epsilon Escades this morning. Off comes the back, and it's probably a burst oil pipe, isn't it? Something's come loose. Again, Jeremy, it's all part of getting cars shaken down and teething problems sorted out. There are the Judd people looking at it. They're going to be plugging in the computer.
Yeah, to have run almost 9 hours with no appreciable problems as well at all, straight out of the box, is a remarkable effort for that team. And if this is going to, hopefully it'll just be something like an oil line, and it won't be terminal, and they will get that car back in the fray. That certainly would be my hope, because they've done an excellent job. All 3 drivers have been turning very good lap times. It was 7 minutes. It's been limping around the track just to get it back to the pit lane, and it was.
Tachikara on board.
Right.
Yeah, he just got out of the car in that distinctive yellow helmet. So they've got a lot of work to do here. The one thing you can't do, of course, you cannot change engines or transmissions once the race has started. So if you've launched it, you're stuffed.
Yeah, that's the end of that one. Cleaning the windscreen on that one. I don't think it's a windscreen. It's a problem, isn't it, on the Dome? It's the windscreens of everybody else's car that was trailing around us.
I mean, the bizarre thing is, Jeremy, that whatever the problems are in the car, someone usually refuels it, someone else polishes everything, just in case they suddenly think it's all fixed and get back out.
So we haven't seen the Alan McNish car on pit lane, have we? So that's going to pull them a lot closer to Nicholas Manassian, who's at the wheel of car number 7, the race leader. And Alan McNish, we haven't seen an on-board from his car. We'd love to have a look at that, see whether he got any of that oil as well, or whether he somehow managed to escape.
Well, you're not going to see it, are you? Because it would be on his visor, and the camera's not going to show us that.
Yeah, well, true, but yeah, we could still see.
Yeah, you might see something on the aero screen, of course. Yeah, but again, Jeremy, this is something that underlines the advantage open cars still have over closed cars. At least the driver can do something about vision on an open car. You can't in a closed car. So Tachikawa there in the yellow helmet, very familiar to Super GT viewers. All 3 drivers here, Toyota factory drivers, all 3 very good drivers as well. One of them was the vice champion last year in 2007, Daisuke Ito. And look at the amount of oil on the front of the car, but as we know, it has come from that car because we saw it as it came in the pits. So it just shows the state of the track generally, how dirty it is out there. So Nick Manassian at the moment from McNish, from Zonta, from Lohr and Pirot, with Alex Wirtz, who's having his first Le Mans race since his debut one, which he won 1996 TWR Porsche. Comes the Chamberlain car.
They've been in and out of the pits all night long, but they kept that car going again. A magnificent effort, really. I mean, they just never say die, are they, down in the Chamberlain Synergy team? They might have a problem now, might they?
They're having a back in. So Amanda Stretton having that big accident. Her husband Bob Berridge berating her the other night after she'd gone off fairly mildly, but she spun it tonight into the walls down at I think down at La Chapelle, and she had to come around the whole lap with the front suspension broken and steering wheel pointing the wrong way, smoke pouring out of the car. We just assumed she'd done the engine in. She did a whole lap like that, but here they are, they're still running.
Yes, they are, and she's getting out of the car now, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of urgency down there, does there?
No. Is that actually Amanda?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. And of course the other driver in the car, Gareth Rees. Peter Owen should have been driving this car this year, but Peter is one of the co-owners of Silverjet, the low-cost transatlantic and Dubai Airlines that got into financial difficulties a couple of weeks ago. They actually suspended operations on Friday of last week, but the good news for everybody involved was that they have found a buyer during this week, so the airline is back in operation, flying those cheap flights from Luton to New York.
How much?
It's around between £800 and £900 business class return.
That's not bad for business class, I guess.
Whether or not that price will still be good under the new owners, we'll have to see with the price of oil.
And we hear word from the pit lane. Amanda Stretton is they're calling it a day down in the Chamberlain Synergy pit. Some engine problems apparently on the car number 19, so that's a disappointment for them. They worked so hard to keep that car going, and now it appears that it might be all for nothing.
Yeah, it's a great shame for Hugh Chamberlain. His very hard-working team. It's an AER 4-litre turbo V8 they have in that car, and I guess that what we might have seen was problems with the turbo when Amanda had that off and struggled to get the car back. You can change parts of the turbo, but eventually it just cries enough, doesn't it?
One of the Luc Alphon cars back into the pit lane. Didn't seem to have been long since they were. No, it's the 63 car, isn't it?
Oh.
So it's the class leader, Johnny O'Connell.
Well, he's run a long time.
Yes, he has. And they've been running very, very well indeed, haven't they? But
he's going to lose the lead though, because Darren's only 18.6 seconds behind him. Peugeot back in, number 9 car. That's Zonta. Having his screen cleaned as well, but I think this is just a routine stop driver change. Are we going to put tyres on? They'll wait and see. As soon as Michelin have checked the condition of the tyres that are on the car, they'll take the decision whether or not to change them. They are going to change them. They're waiting with the air guns. Remember, nothing on the car can be touched except helping the driver get in his belts. Big problem in these cars. There's so little room in the cockpit that when Zonta crashed the other night in Porsche Curves, he could not undo the seat belts. He just couldn't get to them. That's why he stayed in the car so long. This is why, as you can see, the mechanic there struggling to get those belts done up. Make sure the door's shut. They fell off a couple of times last year. That was one of the Achilles heels.
Looked like a good pit stop there, didn't it, for the car number 9?
Yeah, that was picture perfect.
Yep. So that will resume in third place. It's It's still Nicholas Minassian in car number 7, Peugeot out in front, a lap ahead. Is it complete lap ahead? Where is the Alamanish in the Audi in second place? And now Frank Montagny takes over the wheel again of car number 9. And boy, didn't he do a fabulous job earlier on this evening.
Jamie W on the forum said, aha, the official all-night club is now up. I was beginning to wonder when this would arise out of the murky depths of Eurosport. What's murky about Eurosport? We're a very clean family channel. Keep those postings coming in. Remember, if you haven't already been on tonight, it's eurosport.yahoo.com. Go to the message board, go to Motorsport and click on Le Mans. The threads are there.
And Alan Manish is still on the lead lap, just over a minute behind. There's Marco Werner chatting away with one of the crew guys in the Audi pit, and it's Alan Manish in second place, so still keeping the pressure on Nicholas Minassian, and that's exactly what he said he wanted to do as the night progresses.
Yeah, Wolf Hensler incidentally has not yet rejoined in that number 77 car. We're going to take a break, but we will be rejoining, unlike Wolf, after these messages. Stay with us here on Eurosport, live from Le Mans.
And there is Joey Foster rejoining after a pit stop for the Embassy Racing team, the WF01, and they've had some problems within the last hour or so, which dropped them out of the top 5 in LMP2. And now we switch back to the Dome garage, and they're still working away on that car.
Yep. But Jeremy, he's got back in. Tachikawa's got back in, so they're obviously more confident than we are about the engine.
Yeah, I mean, you suggested maybe it was just an oil line came off or something like that, and it was such a huge amount of oil that it was either a major blow, but I think we have to assume, unless they're supremely confident now that they found something else the matter, that it was some sort of oil line. Maybe it could have even been the gearbox, did it not? So,
yeah.
And that, it's possible that it wasn't terminally damaged and get that car back into the fray.
But look, I mean, people are still paying the price for whatever he was spreading all around the circuit. Such a mess everywhere. I'm amazed that we didn't get an oil slick on the circuit. It's obviously hanging in the air there.
Well, I'm sure there was oil on the racetrack, and we heard Tom Christensen say a little while ago there was all sorts of gravel and bits and pieces on the track, because we've had a lot of people off during this race. But the track itself, there's still some people running some pretty quick laps. Nick Minassian in the race leading car, 3 minutes 24.3, so only 3 seconds off the ultimate pace, despite the fact there has to be oil down the track, plus this gravel that Tom Christensen talks about. And then Alex Wirtz in 6th place overall. He's doing 3 minutes 25 last time around, so still some guys out there running a very, very good pace.
So Fabio Babini bought this car in. He's staying on board, or no lights for 44, and that is the 44 is the Cruz Schiller Motorsport car. That's the Hideki Noda car that was rolled into near oblivion the other night. I'm amazed it's got lights after that, but did such a good job, Lola. We had Martin Brain up here earlier praising his boys back at the factory to actually get that wreck back in, and that's the number 3 car. Is this not a... it's about 45 minutes, isn't it, since Lewis last in. It's another 12 lap of this. So Lucas Lewis staying in on board. They've got tyres ready just in case he wants them. What are they going to do? Fuel lines off. And no, they're not changing tyres. So he's doing another stint on those Michelins. They're obviously quite happy about that, Jeremy. You can't take a risk on tyres. They're obviously super confident that they're going to go the distance.
Yeah, they've done a massive amount of testing, but they have had some problems, haven't they, over the last year or so. But again, Michelin working so hard with that team and with all their suppliers, all their customer teams, I should say, to make sure that any problems that they have had in the past are eradicated and will not reoccur.
Right, Ralph has been watching, and he's talking about some of the pictures we're seeing tonight. We haven't got full coverage tonight, Ralph, but you have said, in your modest opinion, of the best camera shot of the race so far is the one coming out of the Dunlop Curves Tertre Rouge, with the trees on the left-hand side lit up, those green poplars there, cars flying past. Looks awesome. That is the spirit of Le Mans. I think we're both right with you on that one. It is a beautiful, beautiful shot. And where we are up in the sky in the Eurosport cabin, we're looking straight down onto the pits, looking up the hill. Very, very steep hill, by the way, up to Dunlop. It doesn't come over on television
television like that, as we see the Modena car, the Rick Bryan owned High Wycombe based Team Modena Aston Martin coming out. It's a car that's done a huge amount of racing over the last 2 years. It's been to Sebring, it's been all over the LMS, it even went as far as Brazil. Here it is back at Le Mans for a second year. It's the car, in fact, Liz Halliday started driving last year. Liz, who's on our commentary team this year, but Liz very quickly found the team wasn't to her liking, and she's been looking for an LMP2 drive again ever since. Of course, she won at Sebring, didn't she, 2 years ago, so delighted she's on our team this year.
Who said lawsuit? Yeah, that team has had all sorts of problems, haven't they, this week? They blew an engine in the first session on Wednesday and then had an off as well, so it's been one problem after another, but they are still running along there. They're still sixth in class, but not a million miles away out of contention, only 5 laps down on the leading Aston Martin of Darren Turner at the wheel now, of car number 009, 63 Corvette shown in second place. They've just made a pit stop, and in third place is the other Aston Martin 007, and then the 64 Corvette.
Yeah, we're still one.
Here's the second place car in GT2.
Ah, yes, here we go. This is the Virgo Motorsport car, yellow this year instead of all red. Rob Bell doing a sterling job on board that car, and he's showing that. We're just talking about the Aston Martins. Any sign, I haven't seen it lately, of the Vitaphone racing team Aston Martin? That's the striker one, Peter Hardman, Nick Leventis, Alex Negraro. It hasn't been shown as retirement, but actually scrabbling to find where it is in the order at the moment.
It was running sort of 7th or 8th in class. I think they had a problem an hour ago, we've been on the air for now, maybe 90 minutes or so ago.
Which is running, I've just found it, it's 48th at the moment, but a long way down, only 77 laps, 82 laps completed so far, and it's running, but its last lap was shown as a 5:39, so it's probably just been out of the pits, but 3:55, that's a respectable pace.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether the car is still running at the moment, or whether it's just stuck out on the track somewhere, because I seem to remember hearing not too long ago that car did have a problem. I just can't remember.
We've got a couple of people asking about that, and there's a lot of local interest for those who live in the Silverstone Buckingham area, because the car's based up there. It's owned by Harry Leventis, who also owns the 1959 winning Aston Martin DBR1. He and his son Nick and Peter Hardman, of course, very much proponents of Goodwood, and Peter won here in the Le Mans Legend race 2 years ago. He's won at Goodwood every time he goes out there. We're looking forward to them having a really, really good race this weekend. Peter Hardman's first time back in the 24 hours for 14 years, and the last car he drove here was the Chamberlain Lotus. I mean, that is almost historic in itself.
Yeah, the Lotus Esprit, wasn't it, 93, 94, he's made his 2 starts here, and of course both Nick Leventis and for Alex Negrao, their first time at Le Mans, so it's been an eye-opener for those guys. But Peter Hardman, he runs that team effectively as well, doesn't he, as well as driving for it. I think they've had a respectable show here, but I think they're not out on the track at the moment.
And interestingly, Team Straka, the Leventis family, they're Cypriots, and they have extensive oil vineyards. Is that the right word? Oil vineyards?
Olive oil
groves. Oil groves in Cyprus, and Straka is the name of their version extra oil.
There we go. I'll have to go find some of that. There is the number 22 car, which has had it's been in and out with various problems during the day.
That's the
Tokai University car. Yeah, I thought that was car. I thought they'd been parked. Actually, how many laps have they done in total? They've done 107 laps actually, which is fairly amazing. It seems to be in the pits as much as out. But 107 laps completed. That's another very interesting project, and they've been just plugging away and learning as much as they can about the car.
Yeah, it's got its 4-litre V8, which is a YGK V8. Interesting, because YGK is a generator company in Japan. It's not something you really associate immediately with racing engines, but we were drawing parallels earlier that the Formula One engine of choice in the 60s was Coventry Climax, and that was based on a Far engine pump. So how bizarre is that? Hey, Yoshimasa Hayashi, the director and the designer of the engine, just those of you joining us now, just to remind you, he's the man who designed the Nissan engine, which took Mark Blundell to pole here in 1990 with a reputed 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah, certainly cars around about then, they had massive amounts of horsepower. They really were a handful to drive, and immense speeds on the straight. And It's interesting to hear now the talk about trying to slow these cars down, maybe even as soon as for next year. And they're doing what, 212 miles now. I think the Peugeots were clocked at, weren't they, during qualifying?
Well, 225 at one point. Yep.
This week?
This week. Yeah.
Oh, they okay.
Frightening. And Mercedes in the Group C race this morning.
That was doing
228. Yeah. Faster.
Yeah.
Anyway, just to bring that back up to point, the ACO at their press conference on Thursday morning actually, Jeremy, avoided that question about talking to teams about it. They just said we are going to look at ways. We'd actually thought they were going to say 3 minutes 30 is going to be mandated as the minimum, the maximum time you can do under racing conditions, but nothing was said about that. All they said was sort of vaguely, well, we're going to look more at aerodynamics and restrictors and see what we can do. Number 1 car back in. This is the car in 4th place, Manuele Pirro bringing that in. He's going to stay on board. Team's just checking. I mean, meticulous work by Audi here. Torches to check the radiators are clean. They're not changing a nose. They've got the night front on the car, and there's no reason to change that now for the rest of the race if they're happy with the configuration. If they've got no oversteer problems, understeer problems, that'll probably stay on unless it's hit. We've got a problem though. Car number 5 is stopped out at post number 122. 5 is what?
No, number 6.
6 is it? 6. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Safety car.
I put my glasses on. Safety car. Right. Let's just check where post 122 is. We've got it up on our wall here.
It's down towards the end of the lap, isn't it? In the Porsche curves, is it?
Porsche curves.
Yeah.
So has Porsche curves claimed another victim?
Wow, car number 6, so that was running very well in the petrol engine class. Among the top 10, Marcel Fastel is shown at the wheel of that Team Orica Matmut car, the Courage Orica LC70 5.5 litre Judd V10 engine, and that apparently has had some sort of a problem. We don't know whether he's put it off the road or what it was.
Yep, that's
you can see the yellow flags waving. The safety car is going to be called out, and that's going to there is the confirmation the safety car is out onto the course. And was Alan McNish still on the lead lap of the with the car number 7 of the race leader Nicholas Minassian? I think he probably was. And we're waiting for him to come around now, and hopefully he's not going to get held up behind one of the pace cars here.
Yeah, 11 minutes past midnight, and Jeremy, extraordinary. This is the first safety car we've had in this year's Le Mans race. That has gone for 9 and a bit hours with no drama on track. In the average Formula 1 race, you have 2 or 3, it seems, this year, so we're already up on that. There is one of the Renault R8s. Should we try an Audi R8? Probably a bit more modern.
There's some rallying in a Renault R8 Gordini a long time ago.
Oh dear. Just shows there's no name new under the sun.
There's Alex Wurz making a pit stop in the number 8 car, the Peugeot, the one that had the problems earlier on.
Here's that car. It's had a big hit, hasn't it? Medical staff are out there, intervention crew, and they're just checking Marcel Fastel out. He's still in the car. In fact, I think where he's gone off, Jeremy, it's where Ricardo Zonta went off on Thursday night. It's the last part of the Porsche curves where they put that big concrete runoff area in with all those fancy stripes.
Yeah, a la Paul Ricard.
Well, they're bringing the other car in, so that would suggest that maybe, just maybe, it had a blown tyre, something like that, and they're going to pull the other car in just to change tyres.
You might as well make a pit stop under the safety car in any case, Manu. So the Loic Duval car is running in the car number 5. The other Courage Orica car is the best place of the petrol engine car in 7th overall. Christophe Tanso in car number 17 for Pescarolo Sport is 1 lap behind Loic Duval, and the 3rd place now in the petrol engine cars will be Emmanuel Collard in the 2nd of the Pescarolos.
Well, Jeremy, we're just going to go to Eurosport News, and we're going to be leaving for about 10 minutes. Hopefully when we come back we'll have some news for you on how
Loic Duval is, and we'll update you on what's going on. But good news as we leave, Darren Turner is leading in GT2 for Aston Martin, Mika Salo in GT1, and Minassian overall.
Le long du mur dans l'enchaînement des virages en direction notamment des karting, c'est à peu près plus loin que là où Martinet avait tapé le mur à l'occasion de la journée test du 1er juin.
Welcome back to Eurosport. Having seen the news, digested what's going on elsewhere in the world of sport, this is the real sport. Mark Cole, Jeremy Shaw bring you everything as it happens live from Le Mans. Jeremy, we've got the safety car still out after a fairly big accident for Marcel Faster. As far as we know, he's okay. We saw him walking into the ambulance, but one of the Courage Matmut cars is definitely out of the running. They picked the car up and the rear wheel fell off.
Yeah, it was clearly had a fairly major heavy rear end impact down there in the Porsche curves, but the good news is we believe Marcel Faster is okay, and the team also had their other car came into the pits during the safety car period, and the safety car is still out there, or should I say the safety cars are still out there, but the number 5 car also came onto pit lane. They took it into the garage for a couple of minutes. They probably lost one lap, I think, doing that, and the reason they took it into the garage was to work on the clutch. They've been having clutch problems apparently, so we presume they bled the clutch slave cylinder.
So the good news was there was a safety car so they could do the clutch. The bad news was it was its sister car that had been crashed.
So that's put the Pescarolo sport car number 17 of Benoit Trullier into the lead now of the petrol engine cars, 7th overall. Laurent Groppi in that aforementioned car number 5 is 2nd place. Not still on the lead lap as Trullier, so that's going to be an interesting battle between those two French teams. And Emmanuel Collard in the 2nd of the Pescarolo cars, shown 1 lap down to the other two in 9th place overall. Then 10th and 11th, the two LMP2 cars. First of all, the number 34, the Van Merkstein Motorsport car with Jeroen Bleekemolen at the wheel at the moment, and I think 1 lap down depending on where they are in relation to the safety cars. 11th overall and 2nd in LMP2, the team Essex car number 31, the 2nd of the Porsche RS Spiders, driven now by Sacha Maassen.
People still taking advantage of the thing to stop. Just going out of the right of your picture, the 96 Virgo Ferrari, Tim Mullen on board that now. They were complaining they'd had power steering problems the last 4 hours, making it very hard to drive. To Jeremy, I guess they were taking advantage of the safety car period too to try and get that fixed without having to go down a lap.
Yeah, and we've seen it's the safety car situation. It's sort of benefited some guys and disadvantaged others. And Alan McNish was only about a minute and a half behind the race leader when the safety car came out, and he's now shown us 3.5 minutes behind. So
the reason for this is safety cars.
Yes,
we have 2 here at Le Mans because the circuit's so long. There's one waiting over. It sits at the 2nd chicane. The other one starts out here from the pit lane, so they're basically evenly spaced. You can't really, Jeremy, all honestly, expect the whole field to catch up over 13 kilometre circuit. It would take forever, wouldn't it?
Well, safety car. if they're going to take the safety car out, it's going to take 10 or 15 minutes, which gives them plenty of time to pack up behind the safety car. So for myself, I would much rather see just one safety car, and it just allows for a lot more strategic calls for the teams. It gives you an advantage, potential to get a lap back rather than losing sort of half a lap as you've done right now. So I think if you're going to call a safety car, it's not going to be for 2 or 3 minutes. It's going to be for something major. I mean, that's the way it is in Europe. You don't have safety cars every 20 minutes like they sometimes have in the United States, and it takes a major incident, because we've had a whole bunch of incidents during this race and there's been no need for a safety car, but finally there was a potential of an injury to Marcel Faster, so that was going to take at least 10 or 15 minutes to have that pace car, which, as I say, would have given plenty of time for the field to pack up behind it.
I think what we're looking at then is 2 Le Mans series with divided by a common set of regulations.
Well, that's what we have, isn't it? Yeah.
82 carbon. This is our GT2 leader. That's Mika Salo, came in on board the Risi Competizione Ferrari F430. Just seeing if we didn't notice if he'd stayed on board it or not. But he's been stopped. He's going to have to wait for the safety car, one of the safety car trains, to come by. I don't know quite where it is at the moment. Here it comes. It's just coming down
at this moment, so he's not going to be held up too much, Jeremy, only perhaps maybe 30 or 40 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure which pace car that is and whether he's good, because he was shown there as 2 laps ahead of Tim Mullen in the Virgo Motorsports car, whereas before he'd been only 1 lap down. I find this double pace car thing incredibly confusing.
But don't forget, Tim has just spent 1 or 2 laps in the pits having that power steering looked at, so it's probably balancing itself out.
Yeah, if quite. Hopefully that's the case. But Mika Salo, if he'd managed to get out in front of that pace car, that could have been a massive advantage for the Risi Competizione team.
2 times winner the last 3 years, the Ray Mallock RML Motorsport MG Lola. Phil Barker there in the background, and we're just getting this car sorted out. They've had all sorts of problems, haven't they? They had the car backed into the wall by Andy Wallace on Wednesday. Tommy Erdos fronted it into the wall after a collision tonight. They have been running again since, haven't they? I don't know what the problem at this moment is, but again, just making the most of the safety car period to do some essential work without losing too much track time.
That's exactly right. We've got a whole bunch of cars down there, actually, side to side to side. 3 garages in a row are occupied with race cars. The Dome Judd, the car number 11, which was running so well among the top 10 all up until, about a half an hour ago, a little bit more than half an hour. Next to it is the Courage, the YGK engined car, which has been in and out of the garage all race long, and next to that is the RML Lola MG car number 25. So those are all 3 cars adjacent in the garages, not too much farther up the pit lane. There's various other machines being worked on as well, including that Lamborghini that's probably spent more time in the garage than out of it.
Oh yes, all sorts of transmission problems. But now we saw Tachikawa getting back into this dome, didn't we, earlier on? The car's not been out, and he's got out of it again, so I guess they've found something a bit more serious than they at first suspected.
They are at least there is some work going on the car, not just the cleaning up operation, so I certainly hope they can get it back out again. They've got the lights are on the car for some reason in the garage.
Yeah, they haven't been off, have they? Those green lights which make that car so noticeable. Nick Nasser, this is our leader. He is following the safety car, and when those safety car lights go out, is that actually... yeah, that is the safety car head, isn't it? We've got those flashing yellow lights all around the circuit. Just extra warning there. 3M markers which delineate the circuit, make it much safer at night, but some people are beyond caring.
So this safety car is certainly very bad news for Alain McNish, because it's going to put him...
He's gone down a lap, hasn't he?
He hasn't. I think he is on a lead lap. Yeah. I think he's just trapped behind the other safety car.
Look at this shot down the La Ligne Droite de Hunaudière, better known to the Brits as the Mulsanne Straight. And again, Jeremy, so many British here this year. 85,000 last year among the 250,000 spectators. No reason to suspect that's changed much. The city has been full of TVRs, Lotuses and Porsches the whole week.
Yeah, Caterhams and all sorts of British cars. There's been a massive amount of MGs, hasn't it? It was a good shot as they came over the brow of the hill into Mulsanne Corner there. And of course, that brow has been shaved off quite considerably. It used to be quite a significant crest of the hill there, just after the kink, and probably that was a great place to watch the cars. If you were able to wheedle your way anywhere near that kink in the old days when they were coming down that Mulsanne at 220 miles an hour plus and going through that kink and then over that brow of the hill, boy, I've got very vivid memories of that.
This is the other kink they've just been going through, the kink on the run down to Indianapolis. They're about to break for Indianapolis. It's a well-banked left followed by a right, and when they get down there, this has traditionally been the fastest part of the circuit since they put the chicanes in. But interestingly, this week, Jeremy, we have been getting some of the faster times recorded going down to the first chicane, coming out of Tertre Rouge in that run, and they've been matching the times going into Indianapolis. Just shows how these the torque on these Peugeots and Audis is starting to really push these cars beyond what we ever imagined.
Yeah, good point. I think also the wind direction this weekend has been generally kind of from the west, I guess, hasn't it? So it's a bit of a tailwind now down the Mulsanne, which will aid that phenomenon.
Yeah, and it's also a bit of a drop from Tertre Rouge, slightly downhill as you go past those
world famous poplars on the left hand side.
And of course, Tertre Rouge is much quicker now than it was as well, isn't it? So yeah, the cars come onto that straight through a sort of a squared off corner, if you like, than compared to what it used to be like.
I'd like to try it. I've always fall off there on the PlayStation. I'd like to try it there in the new configuration. There's the Lamborghini.
They're out of the garage again.
Into progress. Well, it's no progress bank at the moment, I'm afraid, on the Peter Cox driven Lamborghini. Been a great project. Also, all these Moscow sponsors all over it, including Spartak, which is the Moscow hockey team, and the Russians bringing that car here, hoping to have had a good result. But as you said, Jeremy, along with the YGK Courage, this has just turned into an extended test session for them. Car goes back down, going out. Looks like it's ready to fire up. Wonderful piece of machinery in this Lamborghini V12. Car is built and prepared by Hans Ritter Engineering in Germany. Peter Cox, of course, the star driver on board. So he goes back out. Yellow lights showing it's a GT1 car, or GT car. They have the yellow lights, the prototypes have the white lights. And the running lights on the side, some of you have been asking about tonight. Just to remind you, 3 running lights, 1, 2 and 3, to show you where you are in your class. If you're 4th, there's no lights on at all. But watch out for that, particularly noticeable in the dark.
Yes, I think it's a great innovation. It was brought in a few years ago. Was it brought into Le Mans this year or last year?
Last year, yeah. They followed the LMS by a long way.
Yeah, so it's a great innovation now. It really is a fun thing to do. It's a great thing for the fans, particularly for the more casual fans. As long as they're made aware of what it is, but you can at least see, therefore, that when you look at the lights on the colour of the lights on the side of the car and the number of those lights as well.
And Jeremy, the other trade-off we've now started to get this year in Europe from the LMS is the wave by behind the safety car. That's been brilliant. I remember all the absolute shambles we had in Canada last year at Mosport Park when the safety car periods and terrible problems over the wave bys. They've got it sorted now, haven't they, in the LMS, and now they've started to use it here in the LMS.
Oh, have they? But not here at Le Mans.
But not here yet for some reason.
There you go.
So
shame, because I mean that would really liven things up. That would put Alain McNish. Okay, he doesn't have the pace it would appear that he doesn't have the pace to challenge the leading Peugeot of Nicolas Minassian, but still, if he was able to close that gap and get back up onto that tail end of that pack of cars that is led by Nick Minassian, it'd be a lot better than being a half a lap down, which is going to be when they resume this race.
Yeah, the 5 Oreca Courage back in the garage again, not back in the garage, but back in the pits. Laurent Groppi on board that car now. He's just brought it in. They've put some more fuel in it, but they would have fueled it up, of course, when they sent it out, having done the clutch. So obviously something they're still not quite happy about.
Yeah, well, they've been running for how long? Almost half an hour now behind the safety car, so probably at least 15 minutes worth. Okay, yeah, it's under caution, so not to use a lot of fuel, but hey, you might as well top it off. If you can get an extra 2 or 3 laps in there, then certainly a smart move. And this man, Hughes de Schoenack, he's not many tricks get past that guy, do they?
No, he's certainly been a master of strategy over the years. All those Viper wins here at Le Mans. He's being interviewed by French television, not by us. There is that car, Laurent Groppi on board, getting up to speed. There's this iconic shot everyone's talking about tonight. Isn't that beautiful? I think they've actually got the trees floodlit, haven't they, just for effect?
They have. It does look absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure these guys from the Audi camp are terribly impressed with that picture, but it does look absolutely superb.
So, the all-night club still running here on the Eurosport-Yahoo.com message boards. Go to Motorsport, go to Le Mans, and tell us what you think. So, there's been quite a lot happening, so we haven't read a huge amount of messages out just recently, but what I can tell you is we've got a lot of pages now. We're up to 7 pages of notes, most of you chatting to each other, but let's just see who's up here at the moment. Jeff R. Hi everyone, can you tell me why is the lighting around the track better than last year, or does it appear better for another reason?
You tell me, Mark. I wasn't here last year.
Last year it never stopped raining.
Oh, well, that's a good point, isn't it? Yeah.
So I think that's probably a fairly short answer to that. No, but I mean they do year on year try to improve the lighting, Jeff. So I think it's a good point actually. Yes, I've noticed it seems to be a lot more clear this year. It might just be the weather, but we actually have a very still night now. The flags are hardly moving along the top of the stands, and no sign of that rain yet. But Jeremy, they have warned it might be coming tomorrow. And there's been a hint of fog as well in the morning.
Great.
Not unheard of.
It's interesting, though. There's certainly, as you said, that the wind has dropped considerably because there's been a fairly steady breeze blowing across from sort of the downtown area of Le Mans pretty much all day long. And just, I'd say, probably within the last hour or so, it seems to have died down considerably.
So still under safety car. Still, it's pulling
there
off.
it goes.
Oh, just as we said that. So who's at the front of this one? It's presumably it's going to be Nick Manassian. Well, it's presumably not, because he's just being beaten. So this is the second safety car that's been released first. Now, Jeremy, the other safety car will release the pack on the other side of the circuit. That's what we're not seeing.
Okay, yeah, that was the car number 8 of Alex Wirtz, who was leading this group out here at start-finish line, and the other guys have been getting their start onto the Mulsanne straighter. Alan McNish now is shown as 3 minutes and 55 seconds behind the race leader. So car number 7, Nicholas Manassian, the Peugeot leads, and Audi's Alan McNish, the car number 2, is at least a half a lap down, and we'll have to wait and see what the time is going to be once they get back up to speed. But it's certainly going to be a lot more, I think, than it would have been otherwise.
I'm absolutely astounded that Corvette didn't make the most of that. Neither of them came in. Darren Turner at the moment has made 12 stops. He's one ahead of Ron Fellows, and he's only 1 second behind Ron at the moment. Now, why didn't Corvette call them in?
They've been in the pits during the safety car. They've all been in.
Well, they're showing Ron Fellows as one less stop.
I think Darren's made
an extra one. Yeah. Okay, I'll take all that back then. Sorry, Corvette, if you're listening.
I mean, they were shown they're just a second between those two cars, so they are pretty much nose to tail. That's going to be great to see how that unfolds over the next few minutes. And the 007 car is now shown as 1 lap down. And I don't know whether that's real or not. I fancy he might have just been trapped behind the other pace car. And Olivier Beretta in the 64 Corvette is certainly at least 1 lap down to the class leading Ron Fellows.
That's Nick Manassian just going through the picture. That's the second group that was released on the far side of the circuit, now coming round, and Alan McNish then, that having gone down a lap. Another lap down is Montagnier, and then Leur and Pirou on the same lap as the third place car, but they're both a minute behind the country mile at the moment.
Yeah, so 33 minutes I reckon that caution period lasted for. We had to wait a little bit over 9 hours before we had the first safety car period of the race, but it was a long one at 33 minutes, and now we're going to get back up to speed. And you know, the cars have been running around behind the pace cars. There's a lot of traffic out there. We could see the lights being flashed.
I don't quite know where he expects him to go, but he's doing his own job going down the R138 and the RN138, and on board that Peugeot of Nick Manassian, and Peugeot mechanics, well, they're just waiting for the next pit stop. They'll jump when they're told to.
We're still waiting for Alan McNish to come around. Nick Manassian has completed his 161st lap, and we are waiting for Alan McNish to come around this time as well. He was trapped, of course, behind the second of these safety cars, and it's a long way back, isn't it?
Right.
The clock's been ticking.
Effectively, he's a lap and a half behind now, isn't he?
No,
or is it a half lap?
Yeah,
it's a half lap.
Yep.
But
more than a half a lap, I reckon.
So, still before the storm at the moment. Nothing happening in the pit straight because we've got 2 groups of cars on the other side of the track. Here we are, last we see them, just coming out of the Porsche curves. Full tilt in the number 2 car. That is Alan McNish on board. Braking hard then for the first of the 2 Ford chicanes. Great on board shot. And there's the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, this caution period is exactly what he didn't need. It's cost him a lot of time to that lead Peugeot, and the lead Peugeot is so fast, I think it's not going to be terribly long before Alan McNish is going to go back one lap down again.
And of course, because of the safety car, Manassian's now got a clear track ahead of him for a half lap, hasn't he? So Alan will do all he can to bring that car up. Huge number of British journalists here, by the way. Have been bumping into all sorts of correspondence from the London Times, from the Daily Mail, from the Guardian, been brought over for Audi, and of course they're all bees round a honeypot around Alan McNish all weekend. And Alan, as you said earlier, Jeremy, always rises to the occasion. He's always got a quote, he's always got something to say, and everyone listens. He's a very considered driver when he talks, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's great. He's a great quote. He always says something that's worth listening to.
I thought the best quote we had from him actually appeared on dailysportscar.com this morning. He said he had rather an interrupted night's sleep because there was a pair of amorous pigeons outside his bedroom window at 5 o'clock this morning. Sometimes it's too much information.
That's great.
Well, we're heading for a break, and Jeremy, we're going to hang on for a little while with you, but Neville Hay will be coming in when you go off your shift, and Neville's actually arrived in the cabin already. Good evening, Neville.
Yes, he's looking as wonderful as ever and ready for his long stint through the night. Oh, he's been told he looks wonderful. We're not going to put him on air yet because it's Jeremy's time. Car 12 we've got a problem with. That's slowed on the track. That's Jan Lammers. Jan Lammers is crawling around apparently. So what's happened there as we come out of the safety car period? But Jan on board that Charouz Racing Systems Lola. That's the open Charouz car. He shares a Greg Pickett and Klaus Graf. That's the Muscle Milk car, and that's a name to conjure with.
Yeah, it's a energy drink that Greg Pickett has built up very successfully over the last few years. They're running under the Charouz banner, but it's the Greg Pickett's team.
Anyway, we're going for a quick break. Stay with us on Eurosport and we'll come back racing again.